Hello, this is Carl with Blossom Hill, California Native Plants, and this is an update on our January video. We're going to take a look at only plants that are blooming during January. That's the purpose of this video series, so that people can see what's blooming at different times of the year. Occasionally we'll update one of them. This year we're going to update January, possibly some others. Many times people plant or buy plants during spring and fall, and of course they're attracted to plants that are blooming. Some of the other plants bloom during times like in summer that typically are not good for planting. So it's nice to see what those plants look like during their bloom time, and that's the purpose of this video series. Here you can see a couple plants, and it is January 10th. You can see a couple plants that are blooming in the nursery. Lower right is Paprika, yarrow, Achillea millefolium paprika. It has a red flower that turns into a cream flower. And we'll take a look at a couple yarrows. They are blooming this year. We have had a fairly mild fall and winter up to this point. We've had some frost events, most recently the last few days. So you may not find these blooming every year, depending on how cold, how much frost you get, because a severe frost will burn flowers and burn back the plant slightly. But nonetheless, this year it's great. It's nice to have some color in January, and that's Paprika. On the left, and we'll take a closer look at it, is John Dourley manzanita. It's been blooming since the end of December. A typical bloom for the manzanitas in Oakdale, which is where we are, Oakdale, California, about 90 miles east of San Francisco, 90 miles south of Sacramento, right as you go up into the hills, where elevation's about 150, 160 feet. And the manzanitas bloom this time of year, and this is John Dourley. I'm not sure the origin of John Dourley, but it is a hybrid or a selection. It's a low-growing manzanita, and there are two plants here, one closer and one farther in the background. A nice 3 foot and under, slightly spreading manzanitas. These plants are about 8 or 9 years old. Very persistent, very good survival on these ones. We've had some other manzanitas that have not survived, smaller manzanitas, smaller spreading, and these are very reliable manzanitas, John Dourley. Nice thing about the manzanitas, they are blooming this time of year, as I mentioned, and there is not much else for the bees out there. So it's early morning today, but in midday there'll be quite a few bees. And in fact, as you walk past the manzanitas, you'll hear them buzzing, and they'll draw your attention to them. Not much else out there for them, so it's nice to have something that the pollinators can have this time of year. Here's a closer look at John Dourley manzanita. You can see the blooms. And there's the plant. This is the Sentinel manzanita, Arctostaphylos densiflora. This is as far as I know, the original manzanita. There are many selections of Sentinel, but this is the original. It's about 5 foot tall, 6 foot wide, and even though the sun isn't shining on all the flowers, you can see that it has a very nice bloom this time of year. In fact, if you can see the hummingbird down below, we caught one. He showed up at the scheduled time while we were taking a video, and very nice to be able to provide pollinators for our pollinator plants for our pollinators. And let's see if we can zoom in on him a little bit. Well, there he goes. Very nice plant, Sentinel manzanita. This is a small plant that blooms most of the year. And as I mentioned before, it can be variable during the winter depending on how hard of frost we have. But this is Thermophila pentachata. Just love saying that, Thermophila. It's called 5-needle Thermophila. These are 3 plants. I'm going to show you 2 other locations for this plant. And it's not noticed that well because it's not a big plant, but it does provide color most of the year. We've had very good luck with survival. We haven't lost any. These plants are only 9 months old, but we do have some others that are much older. 5-needle Thermophila. Here's a second look at 5-needle Thermophila. There are numerous plants here. In the left-hand side of the screen is a plant next to the rock. That is a volunteer. In the mid to upper right, there are 3 plants, and those are the original plantings 7-8 years ago. So they stay about the same size, or stay a very small size, very compact size. There's really no maintenance to these plants. And let's zoom in on our closest one so you can get a better look. And it's nice to have the color. These will fit just about anywhere. Small little spot. These plants here get watered during the summer. And maybe you saw the sprinkler about every 10 to 12 days. The plants over in the previous location get watered every 2 to 3 days. So these are in the native plant. The ones you're seeing right now are in the native part of the garden. The ones on the previously seen are in the, the garden next to the house that gets landscape water. So they're very versatile. Can take very little water and can take a lot of water. It's nice to have a plant like that, especially for people that are transitioning or want to fill in some spots. This is a nice and attractive plant. Here's our third location for 5-needle Thermophila. You see, this plant doesn't nearly have as many blooms as some of the others, but nonetheless, it still has some. So I want to give you the full range of possibilities. This is a volunteer that has just grown here by the driveway. It is actually seed washed down from a part of the nursery, and it grows here. It had a very prolific bloom all summer. Because it gets water from the nursery, this is watered every 2 to 3 days. So this gets quite a bit more water than the native part of the garden. This is yarrow, Achillea millefolium, and this is the common white. There are other ones in the area. These are volunteers, but nice color for the winter. And I wanted to show you these. We'll take another look at some other common white yarrow in another location. This is Dr. Hurd manzanita. It will be a larger manzanita. Should be 8 to 10 foot tall. Right now this is about 6 foot tall. And just to show you that this one is not blooming at this time in January. It looks like it's getting ready to. Expect it to bloom early February. But this is Dr. Hurd manzanita, Arctostaphylos species. It's either a hybrid or selection from another manzanita, supposed, found, or somehow created by Dr. Hurd. Don't know who Dr. Hurd is, but this is his plant, or her plant. Well, nice to take a quick look at toyon, Heteromeles arborifolia. This is our toyon, and the red berries. Another name for toyon is Christmas berry. You're only seeing a small portion of the plant because I want to show you the berries, but this plant has to be 9 or 10 foot tall, 8 foot wide. So very large plant, extremely drought tolerant, and nice to have a little bit of color this time of year with the berries on Toyon. Well, here's another look at the common white yarrow with our Native Plants Live Here sign provided by the Native Plant Society. So a nice look on a cold January winter day. Well, here's another shrub that is blooming this time of year, bladderpod, Paratoma arborea. And we're looking into the sun so the blooms aren't as noticeable. It's a nice plant. In my opinion, not a very attractive name, bladderpod, but blooms a lot of the year, and not too big, doesn't require much maintenance, bladderpod. Just a quick look at another yarrow. This is salmon colored yarrow, Achillea millefolium salmon for a better title. Well, here's a final look at Sentinel manzanita, and hope you enjoyed this short video of plants that bloom during January. Again, the purpose of the videos is to show what plants bloom during different times of the year. Hope that's helpful to you, and thank you for watching.